So here with Soul Survivor Outdoor, and I'm sitting down with Richard Davis, our area director from Kentucky and Tennessee. And just want everybody to understand who hasn't seen us before, wondering what's this Soul Survivor Outdoor thing. We are an outdoor adventure company, and we're focused 100% on active duty military. A lot of veteran things out there, but we want to get ahead of some of the issues and things that are going on. We also want to share Christ with the active duty military community. A lot of young people serving, and mostly Gen Zs. And so our audience is typically 18 to 25 or 6-year-olds. Anyway, now having said that, something that's quite interesting, and so this is why Richard and I are talking right now, is we've been doing a lot in the United States. We've hosted about 15,000 active duty military at various kinds of events: rock climbing, skeet shooting, skydiving, sailing, surfing, all kinds of outdoor adventure stuff, and then use that as the backdrop to talk more substantively about faith as a foundation for living and how they might walk out their life. And so, but it's all been U.S. based. And so recently we had a commander who was at Fort Liberty, he is at Fort Liberty. And we talked before they deployed a little bit, maybe even jokingly, about could we support them after they deployed, while they were gone out of the country. Well, fast forward a few months, and that's exactly the direction that we went. So with that, Richard Davis, I want you to talk about this country we went into, and what did that look like in prep for it, and just tell us that whole story.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. It's great to be here with you to talk about this trip to Poland, which was very exciting. So it was during that time of you and I were even talking, because I was looking at going into Ukraine to be able to teach at a seminary there.
Right.
And this whole thing came up, and you didn't even share with me that Colonel Hardy had even contacted you about it. But I was already looking and going forward and saying that this is something that God has laid upon my heart about teaching and preparing. And then you were even like, I think this is just a God thing on there. And I was like, well, I'm only going to be, and it was all at the same time too. I mean, it was the crazy thing. It was, we were both looking at September. They were looking at September around that time.
Right.
And so it was, I can spend, and looking where they were deployed to, then where I was flying in and out of, I was only 4 hours away. So it's like, why not? Now I think that through some prayer, through some planning, that we can make this happen. And it was fantastic. So yes, it was an amazing time of working through, planning this, praying through this, and even the discussions that we had about having our first Soul Survivor Outdoor event overseas in Poland.
Yeah, and we had talked to them about this beforehand, but it didn't seem like a strong possibility. And then you and I both basically got the information coming from other places. Hey, here's when maybe we could be in this general region. And I said, Richard, like, where are you flying in and out of? And you said Warsaw. And I said, well, how far away is that from the base in Poznan where the Army is at? And you said 2 hours. And I said, how do you feel about spending 2 extra days there to be able to do this? And you said,
yes, absolutely. Why not? Yeah. I mean, if I'm there in the country a few hours away, I mean, why would we not want to do this, knowing that I'm already there? And so, even though it was focusing on Ukraine, but why not? It's like, we're right there in their backyard, so let's stay and let's do this. And so it was just the coordinations. Now it was with the chaplains, with the unit, when it comes to all the emails that we were doing back and forth. Is this something that they're really serious about wanting to do? Because getting ready to buy my tickets. But let me know, because I'll tack on some extra days and stay over there. So we even went kind of through that a little bit of how many extra days do I need to stay in Poland to pull this off. But what a blessing. It was just truly something that God had already worked through and planned out. And then it was just that walk in obedience. So even the event location and the coordinations with the venue that we were going to be at, the food, I mean, it was just it was an amazing time.
Yeah, it blows my mind as we do this, as we step out. And I've shared with some folks, we haven't been doing ministry as a profession for a long time. At least I have not been. And I was discussing with another nonprofit at one point. I said, I don't really know how this works because I haven't been doing it long. But I just feel like God, when we lean forward and we try to say yes, and there are parables, the talents, do something with what I've given you. And so our predisposition has been, I think, try to say yes. If we've recently had folks from Korea say, "Can you come here?" And I hesitate to say, "No, we can't do that," because when we lean forward and we try to say yes, it seems like the pieces then start to fall together. And that was exactly what was happening with this. And we had met Colonel Hardy at Fort Huachuca, Arizona, 2 years ago. And so that relationship, it keeps coming back to relationships.
That's right.
The vendors, the chaplains, the commanders, the volunteers, our staff, the relationships are so key. And then God is just blowing our minds really to go, okay, we're doing our best to step out and be present and say yes. And then even when you say yes, we're just like in shock, like, did God really do that? And so share a little bit about even internationally, because Poland is highly Catholic, right? In terms of like country, religious back, or maybe not.
Yeah,
something else.
You could say it was kind of a mix. It's like with your Protestant and Catholic on it, because you see a lot of the large churches on it. But so it was. But here, it's like we have things planned out with our venues. We meet with the owners. We talk with them. We have those that we're going to be doing with our food and the catering. And now we're going overseas on there. So it's like, even when we initially started talking about it, we started searching. It's like, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? What is there that we can look at? And it was within a couple hours, just a few Google searches. And here we go. It's like, look, here's a rope event here with zip lines, and this would be perfect. And it was. And so even contacting him, knowing we're going to have translations on it by sending an email, and it was brother and his sister that on there that they were handling the emails. English. So it was just amazing how all that kind of worked out, and how God from there is using. It's like, so as I'm emailing them and contacting them, they're responding to everything in the English to make it easier for us. But it was not very far away. It was maybe 30 minutes away from where the unit was assigned to and where they're at right now today. And so even when it comes to the food, they're like, oh no, it's like, now I got to look at catering and all this. And they were, because if I'm pronouncing her name wrong, it's like, forgive me, but Costanza, she is, which is for Constance, from there. So they called her brother calls her Tina for short, and then Jurand. So a brother and sister that live in the area, they're working at this park. And then they say, we can put the food together too. So they had this whole thing that they were laying out. And I'm like, how amazing is this? It's just coming all together. I'll be traveling and I don't have to run around trying to find a caterer. I don't have to do all this when it comes to the desserts. They're providing all that. It was an incredible time.
I think, describe, there's a photograph that you sent me, you texted me. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's got the staff there in our shirt the day before. Talk about what scripture did you get to share with them the day before? So you're talking to the Polish people. It's not even, they're supporting us. So that's exciting too, because you're doing ministry with our indigenous people in Poland, who are the vendors. So tell a little bit about that story.
So that was really great. So I get over there early and I'm jumping on the trains, because everything I do, when I came out of Ukraine, I went to Krakow and I jumped on a train from there, and it was a 6-hour ride to Poznan. So I get there, then I'm jumping on these inner city trains to go from Poznan to the outside of the city where the park is at. So I'm there, and I want to get there a day early, so I can do my site survey, do all the things that we're supposed to do, go meet the staff, make sure everything's good. So here I am, it's like walking through the city, and get there, And I meet him, and I'm carrying the coins and the shirts on there, and it was just an amazing time. So I meet the owner, Igor, who owns the parks, and then I meet Constantia, we've been emailing back and forth. Well, then I find out about her brother, Jurin. Well, they've both been reading the emails and walking through, talking with Igor on how we're going to do this, because it was, even when it comes to finances and paying this, and now we got to go through currency, the exchange rates on there, about getting the final bill and how we're going to get that for our records. And they have been just from there, just working with them, and how much that they were willing to work with us and help us out to do this event. So I hand them all coins, and I shake their hand, give them our SSO coin, and then I break out the shirts, our black staff shirts, and being able to provide for them, just to say thank you.
Right.
Just a small gesture of everything you have done to make this possible for the American soldiers that are currently deployed, but also for our organization and what they're doing with their organization. And so I did, and I got to explain Soul Survivor Outdoor to Igor and Constantia, Tina, and Jurin. So I got to explain to them, and I flip it over on the back, and there's Matthew 11:28.
Right.
So I'm walking through Matthew 11:28 with them, and sharing with them why we do what we do at Soul Survivor Outdoor. And it was just incredible. So I was able to talk with them, sharing about who Christ was, sharing them about with the soldiers, and they're deployed and the weary. And now we're going to be inviting them out here. We're going to be putting them up on the ropes. We're going to have them on the zip line. They had a great Polish meal, a line for us. But then also being able to share about what Christ is teaching through that text. Yeah. But I'm sharing that with our Polish friends, that when they come into, and so it was great. And from there, so they put their shirts on right then, and we were able to get a photo to send it back to you, and just love that photo, because it's like, how amazing. We've been sending emails back and forth for months.
Yeah.
And then finally get over there, and it was just like open arms. And the thing is that the park, Kaskander Park, is closed now. It closed in September.
Yeah.
They opened it back up for us for this event, for a group event.
Yeah.
And so they were cutting the grass the day before. They were cleaning everything up, getting ready for us, repainting even the walls to make sure there was fresh paint on there when it comes to the bathroom. So everything was looking really good. So they really went above and beyond in taking care of and making sure everything was good. And so it was just that moment of, it's like, you are really just have been incredible, and just being able to support our soldiers that are deployed, and supporting our organization coming over here for this event, and just making sure that we're all taken care of. So they have been an amazing time. And now we're following each other on social media sites. Yeah, a lot of fun.
It's amazing because, we do this ministry, and our focus, organizational focus, is on the active duty military U.S. service member. But Matthew 11:28 says, "Come to me all." And we were talking about this yesterday. What's the Greek word for all? And is it to mean all?
Yeah.
And so the all is when we talked in the other podcast about strategic global evangelism, the focus, that the whole reason we think we're there, and we clearly were, because we had some really amazing feedback from the Army about the event, and it clearly impacted lives for Christ. So, but the secondary,
I even have another story on there to be able to share about who else it impacted.
Oh my gosh,
things you just don't even. Yeah, it's crazy.
So maybe we should talk about that.
Yep.
But just here's God. He's there to reach all, and so the Polish family that runs the zip line thing, and that hymn that we talk about, and he walks with me, talks with me, calls me his own. And that he wants a relationship with us. And so the relationships are so key, whether it's that commander, that chaplain, that family. It starts with our relationship with Jesus. And you can just see the whole, like, that Jesus is all about relationship, and especially as we do this with every single person and and organization that we interface with. And so you say you have another
Oh yeah,
story, so I want to hear that one too.
We
Because
talk about just reaching people, and it's like how we see people differently now because of how He changes our heart, and as we grow closer to Him, we become more Christ-like. So we see His care and compassion for other people. So as we're there, and so now it's the day of the event, and the bus pulls in with the soldiers all on board, and they all get off, and we're getting them acquainted. Introductions are being made on it, and so they're getting their lines, they're getting their harnesses on, they're getting their helmets on, they're kind of walking through, and the bus driver, I have to go back, I can't remember his name right now. But the bus driver is just amazed at what we're doing. So I start a conversation with him. And so he's there. He's been contracted out by the U.S. Army, and he drives, and he's been doing this for 5 years. Wow. He's married with family. He lives in the area. So he loves to work with the United States Army, and he's been driving buses. Wow. And so we were seeing, he goes, this is amazing what you're doing. He goes, this is the first I've ever seen anything like this. He goes, most of the times, he goes, we're hurrying up. We pick up the soldiers, we go, and if it's a long going anywhere, we normally stop at McDonald's. Right. On it, we get back on the bus, and we go. He goes, but you're spending time on here. They're coming out here. You're having them do this event at a Polish park. Right. And then they're cooking Polish sausage on an open fire. So they had we had a traditional Polish meal with roasting sausage. They were already pre-cooked, but roasting sausage, Polish bread. Then you had Polish pickles, the desserts. I mean, he was like just amazed that we would be doing something like this and then talking about Christ. Right. So I was talking with him, gave him a coin, gave him a T-shirt on there, and I invited him. I said, hey, look. I said, where are you? Over here. We got all this. We're paid for the event for these soldiers. I said, you want to go, up on these, do the ropes and events with the soldiers? He's like, no. He goes, I'm good on there. But I said, well, come over and get something to eat. I said, while you're here, I said, you come over. And he did. But he was there. So as I was sharing, and as I was sharing my message, which again, we touched on identity, on there. But as I was sharing this message on the importance of having that relationship with Christ and knowing who our identity is truly found in, so now I've got the park staff, they're listening. Now I got the bus driver, he's there, he's listening. And so not only are we from there, but now we're being invited back. So the park staff they're so amazed. And they're like, if you want to do this again, when I get ready to go back to Ukraine later on in the year, and they're like, if you want to do this when you're coming back through Poland again, they're like, we'll open a park on there. So we have a great connection, a great relationship with the Kaskander Park in Kabliacha, if I mispronounced that from there, in Poland, but outside Poznan, with the owner of this park. And just incredible time of what, again, that walk of obedience. Here's an opportunity. And it was so closely aligned with what was being planned. Just go. It kind of reminds me of, Paul, it's like, here's the man from Macedonia. He's like, come here. And so you had this unit now that's saying, will you come here? Right.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And so, we were,
and not only, but seeing the result even before I left. So I already had a chaplain come up to me before I left. They were just incredibly humble, and they were blessed. But they said one soldier has already had that conversation, and he needs to start with talking with his chaplain.
In less than 24 hours.
Yeah, less than 24 hours. And not only that, but the next morning as I'm getting ready to fly out, now I'm trying to go and jump on a different train to go to Warsaw. I run into the other chaplain that was at the event, and we were talking at Starbucks, having coffee that morning. Right. And he's already having conversations with other soldiers. So even within that short amount of time, where the fruit that was already being seen from that one event was... God is doing something, and through that obedience and amongst our military, and it's been very exciting to see.
So just the being obedient, stepping out, taking the 1 talent or the 5 or the 10, and doing something with it. And Jesus, it's become more and more obvious to me He says, go, right? He says, go into all the world. We tend to camp out at times and be one place.
That's
and
right.
He says, go. And so here we are, we're going. And so, we're going to end our little conversation today, but we're going to keep going and we're going to keep leaning forward, with the places that God is calling us to go. And we're asking people to pray for us and get behind us and support us, so that we can make the right choices. And clearly God is doing things with people all over the world, and He's using guys like you and me, and we'd probably make fun of each other when we were on active duty, soldier, Marine, whatever. And here we are, together.
That's right.
Going across the world. You, in this case, maybe I'll get to join you at a subsequent trip over there. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, but thanks, Richard, for sharing all that, because it's so exciting, because not only is God reaching the military, but we've been saying God will reach the world through the military, one service member at a time. And that's exactly what's happening. And you happen to be that guy down there.
Well, no, it's really just my obedience, but let's just, how God is using our donors that are blessing Soul Survivor Outdoor with the donations and everything that's coming through to be able to make that possible. Right. So we were able to go, it's like, and here I am, I'm, by myself, but I'm jumping on trains across the country, which the train system are amazing.
Right.
But our donors and what they're able to provide, that we were able to contact this park, say we want to bring 40 soldiers. We were able to say yes to these areas and not going, oh, I don't know if I can do that. We were able to say, yes, we'll be there. We'll do this. So the colonel with his the soldier over there that are saying, will you come here?
Right.
So to the donors, just amazing how God has used them and is blessing them, and through those donations that has been impacting soldiers. Now we can say around the world, overseas.
That's right.
So besides here in the United States, we've got those, our American men and women that are currently deployed. You are impacting them through those faithful giving and donations that you are providing to Soul Survivor Outdoors. So thank you on what you're providing.
Yeah. So the kingdom investment, it's real.
Yeah, it
and
is.
Absolutely. And that spark, and any question about, is a few hours with folks going to make a difference?
Yes.
You can ask that family there at the zip line, did it make a difference? You can ask the bus driver, did it make a difference? You can ask the individual soldier, did it make a difference? The colonel, the chaplain. I don't know who else you met along the way, but you literally were planes, trains, and automobiles across Eastern Europe. And
even when I was in Ukraine, I was sharing with the chaplain and the pastor that I'm working with at the seminary and telling them what I'm doing. So I had our SSO coins, so I handed it to him, and now he is contacting me through the Soul Survivor Outdoor email address on there, because he's coming here to the United States. He's going to be speaking on the East Coast down in Texas, so trying to arrange some time to be able to meet him again. But yes, you don't know how God is using these connections on there, but being able to bring this through. But it's that obedience, walking through, saying, is this possible?
You bet.
With God, all things are possible.
Absolutely.
Are we willing to step out of that comfort zone and saying, you know what, I'm going to do this. I don't know, from there, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about? Right. How are we even going to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, He's got it.
Oh,
and so just to see what happened in Poland, that was a blessing. That was just to be a part of that was a blessing.
I feel like there needs to be a part 2 to this conversation. So, because, it's so exciting. It's so dynamic. So we'll be interested to see, how this plays out, and
2024.
People should keep track of, watch what we're doing and get on board and be part of our investment team. And because it's truly a kingdom investment.
Come serve. Yeah. Come serve with us.
Maybe even go to Poland with us.
That's right.
So,
That's right. Absolutely.
God bless you guys. And Richard, thanks so much for sharing this with us. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.